Every now and then there's a fighter that just has a completely goofy performance and they turn into a legend. He had a Shamil the Blob Gaziev moment.
Shamil the Blob Gaziev. 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 Shamil the Blob Gaziev.
Dude, Alex Morano looks like he's 40 years old, like he's a veteran on the verge of retirement, but he's only 32. Yeah, he literally has a tofu build. I just don't understand how you can be a professional athlete and look like that. It makes no sense. You're training all the time. You're doing strength and conditioning work. How are you that out of shape? I understand the heavyweights. There are some people that are just naturally fatter that also just get fat because they eat a lot of food. But if you're a welterweight or lightweight and you're tubby, how does that make sense? How are you a lightweight and you're fat? Bro, he looks fine, man. I'm not saying that he's like the most out of shape person, but he's not in good shape for a professional athlete. I'll give this fight a chance. Let's give this fight a chance. There's a nice solid kick from Morano. Let's just treat it as a high-level fight, and if it disappoints, it disappoints. But my expectations are very high. This is a main card UFC fight. It should be very high level, right? Let's see. Nico Price has a weird build. Awkwardly capped delts. Stand them up, man. Stand them up. This is not fair. Nico Price doesn't train for this. Yo, Nico Price fights and looks like a guy that's never done jiu-jitsu in his life. Nico Price fights like a guy that says in a Street Beefs video in the background, come on, man. Enough with all the grappling crap. This is unfair. Stand up. Stand up and fight like a man. Big uppercut, big booming uppercut from Price. Dude, Price needs to be nicknamed the Sloth. Price's new nickname is the Sloth. And there's a hammering shot from Morano. Oh! Morano is the most innocuously athletic dude in the UFC. Morano can Morano's got the Marcin Tybura athleticism mixed in with Usain Bolt's athleticism. Morano will throw a spinning, jumping wheel kick, and he'll fly out the building with it too. And he'll follow it up with some tubby Tybura footwork. He's literally a small Marcin Tybura. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in saying he's literally a small Tybura? So we've got we've got the welterweight Marcin Tybura with sneaky athleticism and the Sloth. This is the goofiest matchup I've ever seen. This is the goofiest matchup of all time, bro. This is literally a heavyweight slop fest where they're heavyweight NPCs that don't have any... They have thud on their punches, but they're not real heavyweights, so they're not knocking anyone out. This is a straight-up goofy-ass... I actually like this fight. This is a pretty entertaining fight. Nico might be the slowest fighter in UFC history. Just remember... Morano made easier work of Cowboy than Conor McGregor did. This is a special ed brawl. True. Dude, I like Nico Price. I do like Nico Price. He seems like a great guy. Nico Price has never hurt a fly in his life. Nico Price might be the most innocent person on the face of the earth. Just a good old-fashioned slugger. You're not an analyst, brother. Give us some X's and O's breakdown. Sorry, man. You're right. I should do some X's and O's on Price and Morano. The highest level MMA fight we've ever seen. This is like watching Street Beefs, okay? Morano would be a fucking killer on Street Beefs. Morano would literally be talked about as the chosen one. If Morano was in Street Beefs, you would see Sports Illustrated make a magazine cover listed the chosen one. The first man from Street Beefs to make it to the UFC. And dude, this guy's actually a killer. He would be a king on Street Beefs. He'd literally be a 50-time champ, and then he'd come to the UFC and he would do well. He'd get fraud checked eventually, but still. Bro, Nico Price is so slow, man. So slow, dude. And Morano's slow too, and he's like the faster guy here. Oh, big shot from Nico over the top. And there's a goofy goober takedown from Nico Price. A very goofy takedown. Dude, these guys are fighting in slow-mo. This is like the same level of a early 2000s brawl. This is like a 2003 Chuck Liddell undercard fight. This is basically Marcin Tybura versus a Florida Falcon. I meant Florida Pelican. I was trying to come up with like a bird. Nico Price looks like a prehistoric bird, bro. Nico Price looks like a fucking, you know, what are those birds that died off in Australia? I said pelican. I said falcon. I meant pelican, but what are those birds? The doo-doo birds? Yeah, Nico Price looks like a fucking a dodo bird. Marcin DeVore versus a fucking dodo bird. He's so sloppy with his style, bro. He's so sloppy with his style. Nico Price, dude, he's so slow. He's a fucking sloth in there, man. Morano looks like a freaking. I can't. Yeah, I gotta bite my tongue on some of this stuff, but. This is such a low level fight. Why is this on the main card? You know, it's funny because like people will say things like, dude, you could never make it to the UFC, but then you have fights like this. They'll say, bro, you couldn't even make it to the UFC if you tried, and you've got fucking Morano and Nico Price on a main card. They don't think I could make it to the Dana White Contender Series? You got Morano. The fucked up thing is, there are fighters that lose on the Contender Series that are 10 times better than this. That just, you know, run into another talented prospect. Nico Price and Morano fucking lucked their way in. Goodness gracious, man. This is crazy. Damn, Price is... What? Price is minus 15,000 on the odds. Did you see those odds? He was minus 15,000. How does that even make any sense? This is like a close grit match. This is, I don't even know what to call it. This is literally the equivalent of a heavyweight fight. Heavyweight skill at welterweight. Tell me that Nico Price doesn't look like a dodo bird. Nico Price has a fucking pelican physique. He's the only human to ever look like a bird. Like an awkward big bird. Look at this fucker. And tell me this is not Nico Price, guys. That's Nico Price. He's such a fucking sloppy fighter. He's a mixture of a sloth and a dodo bird. And a crackhead from my... Nico Price is a mixture of a dodo bird, a sloth, and a freaking homeless person from Florida. He's basically Scraggly. He's the Florida version of Scraggly the hobo and a dodo bird. Same shit. Historically accurate. I'm telling you, man. Look at him scream. Yeah! Let's go! The card has sucked. Yes, the card has absolutely sucked. But that was the best fight of the night, entertainment-wise. Anyway, let's see who wins. I hope Price wins, even though I picked Morano. The live odds were minus 15,000 for Nico Price. Yeah! Yeah! The goofier of the two stays in the UFC. Nico Price, the last living dodo bird. I swear, bro, I'm getting a Nico Price shirt. I am getting a Nico Price shirt, bro. I'm photoshopping Nico Price's face onto a dodo bird, and I'm getting the shirt. Yeah, I'm gonna make a Nico Price shirt. Nico Price became one of my favorite fighters tonight. I mean, I've always liked Nico Price, but I went from dreading a Nico Price fight because he's kind of washed and he doesn't, have the same, ability to put on a war like he used to. But tonight, I mean, just the sloth of his fighting, the goofiness, it's unmatched. He had a Shamil the Blob Gaziev moment. Every now and then there's a fighter that just has a completely goofy performance and they turn into a legend. That was Nico Price's moment. And that was just based on the way he looks. The funniest thing about Shamil Gaziev is just seeing him waddle around the octagon. That's the funniest thing about Nico Price is how slow he is and how awkward he looks, bro. Good old-fashioned peach.